Configuring applications to use SSL with custom domains. In this presentation, we'll go through an important part of securing production applications for Bluemix Platform as a Service, setting up custom domains with SSL certificates. We'll start off by introducing how SSL works and the general process to set up an SSL certificate. Then you'll see how to implement this on Bluemix to set up a custom domain for an organization and apply an SSL certificate to it. Before you learn about configuring SSL for Bluemix applications, it helps to understand a bit of context. First off, the actual protocols used today fall under the category of TLS, or Transport Layer Security. TLS extended and enhanced SSL v2 and SSL v3, which have largely been removed from use due to security concerns. But still, most languages around security and secure connections uses SSL for Secure Sockets Layer, which is the underlying protocol of HTTPS, the security enhanced version of HTTP. TLS is based upon the application of public key cryptography in a special context. When a web or other type of client, mobile or application using a REST API, connects to an endpoint with HTTPS, the endpoint presents a certificate, which has been signed by a certificate authority and includes the public key from a public-private key pair held by the endpoint, in this example, app.mydomain.com. The client inspects the certificate and uses a cache of system or application, for example, browser certificate authority public keys. If it can decrypt the certificate using a known certificate authority or CA public key, then it trusts the provided public key from app.mydomain.com. Then it can proceed to use the public key for app.mydomain.com to negotiate an encrypted connection for all traffic using the TLS protocol. The key point here is that to safely use the TLS protocol, the client must authenticate the identity of the remote endpoint. Otherwise, the encryption is pointless. At a high level, the steps to obtain a certificate to use the TLS are not particularly complicated, but there are some key points in execution required because of the intrinsic nature of the trust relationship for secure communications across the internet. For example, you wouldn't want to be connecting to the website of your bank and provide your bank account authentication information to just anybody who requested a certificate for www.mybank.com, right? Here are the steps to obtain the certificate. You start by creating an RSA public-private key pair. Then you create a certificate signing request. You submit the certificate request to a certificate authority with proof of server ownership for the domain. And then you install the signed certificate and the private key on the application server that will be hosting the application. For each organization using IBM Bluemix Platform as a Service environments for web and web-like application services, for example, Cloud Foundry applications or container groups in the IBM Bluemix Container Service, you can define application endpoints that use a shared domain, mybluemix.net, or a custom domain, like mydomain.com or mydomain.org. This is only supported for internet domains that you have registered with a public DNS. On that DNS, you create a CNAME, canonical name, record that points to the secure endpoint for the region where your application is hosted. When clients access your application URLs, the request goes to the secure router in Bluemix and then is forwarded on to the correct application instance based on the hostname of the web request. After doing this, you'll be able to use a URL like http://app1.mydomain.com to forward directly to your application running in Bluemix. After creating a custom domain, you can configure TLS security to access the domain through using the high-level steps for requesting a certificate. Once a certificate has been obtained, both the certificate and the private key need to be uploaded through the Bluemix UI or added using the Bluemix CLI. The uploaded certificate is applied to the domain defined for the organization. This means that you should request a wildcard certificate by placing a star or asterisk for the hostname in the certificate signing request's common name. This allows multiple applications with different hostnames to all use the same certificate. For use in testing and development, the use of self-signed certificates is supported in addition to certificates that are signed by a private certificate authority. Any clients that will make use of the secure connection will need to be configured appropriately to validate the certificate signer to avoid security applications from the clients. For Cloud Foundry applications and containers running in container groups, nothing special needs to be done in the application runtime or container runtime to support custom domains and secured connections. All traffic that is encrypted using TLS coming to Bluemix is delivered to the listening port of the application. Within Bluemix, traffic between the router and the Diego cell is internally encrypted using IPsec. It's also possible, when using custom domains, to control which clients are allowed to connect to the application. This is done in a reverse sense from the initial setup of a TLS connection, where an endpoint presents a signed certificate to the client. In this case, the client presents a signed certificate to prove its identity, and then the endpoint can make a choice whether to accept or reject the connection. This is supported in Bluemix custom domains as well. When working with an SSL protected domain, you can restrict access to specific clients by enabling the option to request a client certificate. To define the client-side certificates that can access an application, you upload a client certificate trust store file in the web UI to Bluemix or through the CLI. This file contains one or more certificates for each of the clients that are allowed to access the endpoint. Note that this again applies across all of the applications configured to the domain, so if there are different communities of clients that need to be restricted, each community should use a different custom domain to access application endpoints on Bluemix. This concludes our overview of configuring custom domains in SSL and Bluemix. Thanks for watching.